I hate to say it, but, doctors are brainwashed from day one when they enter medical school that, drugs work. Anything outside of drugs isn't going to work.
A few weeks ago now, a company called Boss Level Labs contacted Eurogamer claiming to have created the world's first brain booster supplement for gamers, and they were calling it GodMode. Now, I felt that claim was perhaps a little generous, given I'd heard of an esports team in the States that was sponsored by a similar kind of product, but, well, a couple of things really caught my eye in this email. First of all, it quotes one of the best chess players of all time, Hudip Polgar, a now retired Grandmaster, who'd said, "I take GodMode to think better and reach victory." On top of that, the CEO of Boss Level Labs is the very same Scott Miller that once co-founded Apogee Software, later known as 3D Realms, the creators of Duke Nukem. In fact, speaking of the Duke, his voice actor even voices the main advertisement for this product.
Darius is a gamer, but Darius is having problems. He's not winning like he wants to. Then a friend gives Darius some insider advice. If you want to be your best, try GodMode.
And so I was intrigued. GodMode is very clearly laser targeted at people that play video games, and it's claiming that if you take it, you'll be better at playing them. So I have two main questions. First of all, what exactly are they selling? And two, is it legit? As I started taking a look at the GodMode website, my initial impressions were, well, skeptical. Here are just some of the things that Boss Level Labs suggests their supplement can do for you. It'll enhance your learning, memory, and recall. It'll improve your reaction speed by 6 to 10%. It'll give you Spock-like logic and reasoning, and your creativity will be unleashed. Although all of those are overshadowed, in my opinion, by this line right here. If you take GodMode, you can think like Elon Musk, Steven Spielberg, and Steve Jobs. If you keep scrolling down the main page, you'll eventually find the list of ingredients, and once again, in bold text, there are some huge claims being made here. Boosts cognition, improves memory, amps up alertness, reduces depression, decreases anxiety, elevates mood, and long-term benefits to your brain health, whatever that means. It all sounds incredible, doesn't it? And let's be frank, completely unbelievable as well. However, I'm aware that I'm making that judgment mostly because, well, the website looks a bit dodgy, and perhaps that's an unfair stance to take. So, with that in mind, let's talk to a professional. Dr. Kimberly Urban is a neuroscientist based in Philadelphia, and she seemed the perfect person to ask about GodMode, given that she'd written her PhD on the neural ramifications of nootropic drugs. If you haven't heard the word nootropic before, it refers to any substance that has the ability to improve cognitive function, and it's become something of a buzzword for companies like Boss Level Labs. In fact, on the GodMode homepage alone, it's featured 29 times. So, let's see what a nootropics expert has to say about this stuff.
Well, what jumped out at me, honestly, was the fact that it contains caffeine. Mm-hmm. It also contains theobromine, which is another stimulant. Mm-hmm. It is going to provide a sensation of enhanced alertness and focus, but that's just from the caffeine. You get the same thing from drinking, a couple cups of coffee.
But hang on, what about these massive claims that Boss Level Labs is making? Surely you can't say that your product will make people think like Elon Musk and it'll unleash their creativity if you can't also prove that it will do those things. Well, actually, it turns out you can. You see, over-the-counter supplements exist in a very unusual place within the medical world. In the United States, for example, your advertising doesn't need to be regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. Which means that yes, you can claim to have 847 clinical studies backing up the ingredients in your product, but there's no need for those studies to be checked in any way by an unbiased third-party organization. So yeah, we really don't know enough about this supplement or what it does to you when you take it, but I'm guessing you've read the title of the video and you know where this is going. I requested a month's supply of GodMode, and just before I started taking it myself, I thought I'd quickly check, is this stuff actually safe to take?
I didn't see anything in there that I would deem dangerous, and the amount of caffeine in it is not even a high amount of caffeine. I probably consume 3 times that amount of caffeine on a daily basis myself. But yeah, I don't think there's anything dangerous in it.
Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do at this stage, and that is to try it for ourselves. So I've requested a month's supply of GodMode, and here it is in a little tub. A couple of things to note actually on this. So you've got the slogan, weaponize your mind, with a little star next to it, as well as down here you've got that will help improve your memory, learning, reaction speed, all that kind of stuff. Once again, a little star right there. And if you look on the back of the tub, it says these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. So worth bearing in mind. Here we go. Oh, there's a little peely thing on the inside. This is going to be good video content, and it's really not coming off very easily. First impressions, not great. Oh, I wasn't expecting cotton wool. All right, okay, well, that's unusual. And yeah, I'm told to take a 2 veggie capsules per day. So here we go. All right. I'll do it. Don't feel like Steve Jobs just yet, but I'll let you know how I get on. Now, there are 2 major issues that I'm faced with when it comes to measuring what kind of effect GodMode is actually having on me. First up, and this is a big one, there's no way for me to account for the placebo response, which is to say, what happens if my own personal expectations of GodMode end up impacting the results themselves. A true clinical trial would test the effects on a much larger group, with some of those people unknowingly taking a dummy version of the supplement. Then, if both groups responded in a similar fashion, you'd be able to conclude that it might not be the supplement that's causing these effects. So yes, any testing I do will have to take that into consideration, and also, if you want to talk about the impact that GodMode has on my performance while playing games, that's a pretty difficult thing to actually measure. Say I was to play Tetris every single day over the course of my trial and then track my scores. Well, that's a game that relies heavily on reaction speed and problem solving. It sounds perfect, right? Well, I'll end up just getting better at Tetris over the course of those 2 weeks. That's not necessarily a response to the supplement. So here's what I'm doing. Instead of playing Tetris, although I would have liked to, that Switch version's brilliant, I spent 2 weeks prior to taking GodMode completing a series of brain tests each day which scored my reasoning, memory and concentration. My results during these 2 weeks remained fairly consistent, showing no drastic improvement as time went on, which didn't do much for my ego, but it did suggest that if I went on to then do the same tests for a further 2 weeks while taking GodMode, I could compare the average scores and see what kind of difference it might have made. Now, to be absolutely clear, I think this is a very bad experiment. For all I know, I am getting better at these tests over time, and the data just doesn't reflect that yet, and we're doing nothing to account for the placebo response, which, as we said before, could play a massive role in an experiment like this. So yeah, when we do reveal the results a little later on in this video, we're going to need to take them with a huge grain of salt. Which means if my testing isn't going to be enough to draw a full conclusion, I want to talk to someone that's taken it for a lot longer than I have, someone that believes GodMode does in fact make a genuine difference to their lives. Fortunately, it turns out Boss Level Labs advertises a list of what it calls its pro users, including Grandmaster Hugh Polgar, but also a gameplay designer who worked on Gears of War, the co-founder of Remedy Entertainment, the co-founder of Ready at Dawn, and a long list of other industry names from the gaming, fitness, and literary worlds. Starting with Ms. Polgar, I began contacting each and every pro user, requesting an interview about their experience with the supplement. She unfortunately declined to be interviewed, as did one other person on the list, and there were a handful of users I just couldn't get in touch with. Others stopped replying once GodMode had been mentioned, and 2 pro users told me they hadn't taken the supplement at all, and in fact one of those 2 then went on to request that he be removed from the website. Another explained that although he was passionate about the project because he'd known Boss Level Labs CEO Scott Miller for years, he wasn't sure he'd noticed any effect from taking GodMode after 3 months. In fact, out of the 18 pro users, I was only able to speak to one of them who believed that this supplement had improved her day-to-day life.
Before GodMode, I can tell you, Chris, I thought I was losing my mind. I was forgetting just absolutely everything. I also found myself just feeling like I was dragging myself through the days. It was so bad that I went to the doctor because if I didn't have a nap or 2 during my work day, it was like I couldn't function. They did a buttload of tests, and as far as pills, they wanted to give me all sorts of medication that I did not want to take. Just the timing of this was perfect because Scott Miller reached out, and he was telling me, yeah, I've been doing nootropics forever, and formed this company, and we have this product. I started taking it, and the immediate effects that I have experienced. I don't take naps anymore. My energy level, I think it was just this subtle, natural improvement.
One thing I've sort of struggled to track properly is the idea of the placebo effect whilst you're taking the supplement.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think I had one. I think I'm one of the lucky ones who just went into this and said, you know what? I hope it works.
So how about my own experience? Was I one of the lucky ones, like Trisha? Well, no, I don't think I was. I took 2 capsules every single day for 2 weeks, and as advised on the bottle, I cut out, for the most part, any additional sources of caffeine, which sucked, by the way. I usually took the capsules in the morning and started to feel their effect quite quickly, and there was an effect. I'd feel a little more alert, less groggy, occasionally even a bit lightheaded for around half an hour or so, which, as Dr. Urban had predicted, actually felt quite similar to drinking a couple of cups of strong coffee in quick succession. It didn't feel, especially obvious to me, that anything more complex than that was happening. As for my results, I completed 2 sets of those brain tests every day at around the same time for 2 weeks prior to taking GodMode, and then I did the same again while taking the supplement. If I now compare the average scores, I find that for 2 of those free tests, the ones that focus on reasoning and memory respectively, my average had dropped marginally while on the supplement, whereas the test for concentration shows a small increase. However, I've no way of knowing if any of these scores have been affected positively or negatively by a placebo response. Which got me thinking again about those 847 clinical research studies. Perhaps they could offer me some more definitive results. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there aren't actually 847 studies cited on the GodMode website. There are in fact just a handful underneath each of the listed ingredients, but let's take a look at one of those. It says here, for example, in bold red text, that Yamabushitake reduces depression and anxiety, which I remember finding a little odd the first time I read it because I've typically heard about people treating depression or treating anxiety, not reducing them. I don't know, the terminology just seemed a little off to me. So let's see what the research has to say. According to this citation, we're after the International Journal of Biological Macromolecules, Volume 97, pages 228 to 237. And after a little digging, I got hold of a copy. It concludes that over the past decade, Yamabushitake has been used to treat pain caused by gastritis, and further studies about any other potential uses still need to vigorously increase. The study itself says that this ingredient needs more studies. I'm not seeing anything here that backs up any of the claims that Boss Level Labs are making. Yamabushitake, by the sounds of it, is great if you're struggling with gastritis. Put that on your site, sure, go ahead. But if that's not what you're trying to sell, I don't know why you'd cite this research study. In fact, the only evidence I could find linking Yamabushitake to the treatment of depression and anxiety involved a small test that focused specifically on overweight Japanese women that had eaten cookies containing the mushroom extract. Is that what this claim is based on? Because if so, that feels very irresponsible. And so to end this piece, I think I'm going to have to pose that question, as well as a few others, to the one person that can answer it. The CEO of Boss Level Labs, Scott Miller.
Hello?
We started with the skepticism shown by our nootropics expert, Dr. Urban, which was that GodMode would, and I quote, provide a sensation of enhanced alertness and focus, but that's just from the caffeine. You get the same thing from drinking a couple of cups of coffee.
The thing is, most of the medical community is going to have that opinion. I mean, most of the medical community has a lot of things that are very wrong. Like, if you read the books that doctors, have to read, which I've actually bought some of these books and read them, when they go through their school, they are so anti-supplement. It's because they're funded by the pharmaceutical industry. And the pharmaceutical industry tells you things like, avoid fish oil, avoid all this stuff. They don't want doctors to believe in any of that stuff. I hate to say it, but, doctors are brainwashed from day one when they enter medical school that, drugs work. Anything outside of drugs isn't going to work.
I was interested in some of the ingredients in GodMode. Particularly, I found, forgive me if I'm about to butcher the name of the ingredient here, Yamabushitake, is that how you say it? Lion's mane?
Right, lion's mane, uh-huh.
Yeah, so on your site it says in quite clear, like bold red text that it can reduce, that it reduces depression and anxiety. And I took a look at the research that was cited just below and struggled to find anything that said that so definitively. In fact, one of the papers, which I think is from the International Journal of Biological Macromolecules, it actually says in its conclusion that it's only been proven to help with gastritis. Do you believe that GodMode, if someone struggling with depression took it, it would have an impact?
It could have. I wouldn't recommend it strictly for that, and that's not why we use it in GodMode. It has other benefits as why we use it. For depression, I would definitely recommend other things like vitamin D3, and there's a few other things that would probably have a way better impact.
Are you not worried that might be, that it will be misleading for people that are struggling with something like that condition, that come to the site and see in like big bold text reduces depression, anxiety, and maybe thinks they found a solution that they perhaps haven't.
Let me see how that looks on the site here. I'm pretty sure that it does help in that area. Human studies also show that lion's mane can help it reduce impression, help improve depression, anxiety. Let's see. So I'm like I found one study here. Let's see, reduction of depression and anxiety about 4 weeks of.
I think is that the one with the overweight women that were given it in, like the mushroom was put into cookies? Is that the one?
I'm looking right here. I don't see anything about. Okay, 30 females were randomly selected. Blah blah blah. Well, I don't want to do this on the phone. I would have to look around. But
okay.
In any case, that's not. I see where you say. I do see where it's like highlighted in red. Mm-hmm. That part should definitely probably not be in that red section because that's not a primary benefit that we're trying to push anyway. There's actually a lot of stuff on this page I want to redo, and we have a web designer right now, a new web designer, working on a whole different version of this website. So all of our redos are going to that, and we're kind of like hoping that happens very quickly so we can dump this current page, which is not very good in my opinion. Our main pursuit right now is to just basically, we want to get like the website redone. We want to get our messaging better. In fact, on our new website, we're going to actually reduce significantly the push towards just the game market.
Well, that story got quite a bit bigger than I anticipated. Hopefully you took something away from it, because I've been investigating GodMode for about a month now, and for 2 of those weeks I couldn't even drink coffee, so at least some sympathy points for that, please. But what have we learned along the way? Well, for a start, I still don't know what these things actually do, which is a problem. But the bigger problem is the fact that we do know at least some of the claims that Boss Level Labs have made about this product are just false. And when you're talking about things like you can think like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and whatever, and very obvious marketing nonsense, that's one thing. But when you're saying things like it'll improve your memory, it'll improve learning, it'll decrease anxiety and decrease depression, well then that's something else entirely, I feel. And we can't just look past it, we have to call it out. And this is us calling it out. Nootropics is a massive industry, by the way. It may only be tiptoeing into video games now with products like this, but it's much larger than that. It is a very lucrative industry, and it's one that I think requires some amount of healthy skepticism.
In gaming, your mind is your true weapon. With GodMode, you'll weaponize your mind. All ingredients in GodMode are natural, vegetarian, safe, and FDA approved. Darius is impressed. He clicks the Order Now button. Your better brain can happen very soon. Visit us now.